This is the Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Special. And when Harley-Davidson announced this motorcycle almost 3 years ago, people wondered if they could actually pull off building an adventure motorcycle. And I'm gonna give away the ending right now. Yes, they can. This is a competitor for the BMW R1200 GS, for the Ducati Multistrada, for the Triumph Tiger, for the KTM Super Adventure S and R. This is a real adventure motorcycle. This is not some dressed up V-twin cruiser with some parts on it to make it look like an adventure bike. This is the real deal. Some of the best things about this motorcycle, and number one is the engine. The 1250 Revolution Max engine is unbelievable. It is so surprising to ride a Harley-Davidson that has this much power, this much torque. It's smooth, it's fast, it's responsive. I cannot wait for this engine to end up in other models besides the Pan America. It is a dream to ride. Throttle response is excellent. The power on demand is really good. Right off the bat, like we just pulled out of the area we were leaving on our test ride 2 days ago, and I twisted the throttle for the first time, and I actually said, wow. That was the first words out of my mouth riding this motorcycle was, wow. It actually has power. Harley-Davidson claims 150 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque with a red line of 9,500 RPM. It's a rever, but it's also a torquer. Because of the variable valve timing and the 4-valve head, it really is a versatile engine. It has a lot down low once you get above like 2,500 RPM, 2,200 RPM, and then it pulls all the way to that red line. It's unlike any other Harley-Davidson I've ever ridden. It makes it usable in a lot of different situations. It cruises along nicely on the freeway, 6th gear, 70 miles an hour. It's a 4,000 RPM, it's smooth, it's comfortable. And then you click it down a few gears and twist the throttle and man, it just wakes up. But it's not too much of a dirt as well. And that is because of the different ride modes. Just like any modern adventure touring motorcycle, it's got tons of electronics, including ride modes. You've got sport, you've got street or road, you've got rain, and you've got an off-road. You've got 2 off-road modes, off-road and off-road plus. And all those basically vary the throttle response, power delivery, and on the special, suspension. So sport, it's linear, it's connected, it's fast, gives you all the power. It cuts back the traction control quite a bit, and it firms everything up, and it's what you would expect from something when you say it's sport. Road mode, it's more comfortable, it's more plush. Throttle response is a little more muted. It's not as jumpy off the get-go, which is fine. And it's perfect for just cruising the highway, cruising around town, everyday sort of work. Rain, we're in the middle of the desert. Of course it didn't rain. We didn't test it at all other than just to see if it actually muted the power, and it does, but obviously we don't have a chance to really find anything slick and slippery in terms of water out here. Off-road also varies the power, knocks the power down a little bit, changes suspension settings, makes it softer and more set up for off-road, and it changes the ABS settings as well. And then you have Off-Road Plus, which takes it even further. The maximum amount of wheel spin, off-road ABS, and a real compliant package. So overall, power delivery, engine, it's a home run. It's the best Harley engine I've ridden. Kind of speechless. It's gonna take me a lot of words in the article to write about how good this motor is. So onto the chassis. Well, the Revolution Max engine is actually part of the chassis. It's a stress member, and all of the frame pieces bolt off of the motor. You've got a front section that obviously holds the front end. You've got a midsection where the suspension attaches to, and you have the subframe attached to that. That makes for a lighter chassis, and Harley-Davidson actually did a good job in weight. In the standard model, it comes in at like 539 pounds. The special model we're riding is 559 pounds as stock. The units we rode had the option of spoked wheels and the adaptive ride height, which added a few more pounds, basically 14. Overall, the bikes we rode weighed 574 pounds fully fueled. And that's a big number, but it's not a big number when you compare it to other big bore adventure touring motorcycles. It's right there in the ballpark, but because of the engine and because of how thin the chassis is and how thin the frame is, especially at the tank and the seat area, It's really easy to throw around and it feels much lighter than it actually is. I really like the way the chassis handles. It's responsive, it's quick, it's stable at slow speeds, you know, parking lot maneuvers and tight turns and things like that. It's very stable, it's very balanced. But then when you get up to speed, it's easy to move around. It's easy to change direction and push the bike where you need it to be. And it all comes down to the thinness and just the way that they were able to keep a lot of weight off the chassis that didn't need to be there. Suspension-wise, you've got a Showa electronic suspension up front and in rear, 190 millimeters of travel, that's 7.5 inches. And basically what it does is it's constantly adjusting your damping rates for whatever mode you're in and whatever terrain you're in. On the street, I found it worked excellent in sport mode. It's nice and firm. In the twisties, the first day we rode on street tires, or I should say street adventure tires. Harley-Davidson branded Michelin Scorcher Adventure tires made especially just for this model. They put a lot of time in the tires and they work really well. Excellent grip, excellent feel, and then with those firm suspension settings, it rips through the corners. Put it in road mode, it's a little less sporty, still comfortable, still capable, just soaks up some of the imperfections on some of these back roads that aren't that great. And then when you go to off-road, you have a off-road soft and an off-road firm. Soft is nice for slower speed work, for picking through rocks and washboard and potholes and that kind of stuff you find on fire roads. Perfectly capable. But once you get into the big bumps, you definitely have to go to firm. Firm, I could hit G-outs and it would soak them up pretty well. It still bottomed the bike out, but when it did, it was completely composed, straight, went straight, didn't do anything weird, didn't kick strange, and it works. They all work. They're all definitely in the realm of other big adventure motorcycle suspension. Ergonomics. So coming up from the seat is cushy, it's soft, it's comfortable for a short time. Once you start sitting on it for a long time, it's almost too soft for a long ride. I'd like to see the seat to be a little bit more firm. The best electronic feature on this bike is adaptive ride height. This is a game changer for a lot of people that have always complained about the high seat heights of adventure touring motorcycles. So what it does is, as you come to a stop, it changes from the optimal preload that the adaptive ride height sets you at, which is about 30% preload sag, to dropping the bike from 1 to 2 inches depending on your weight, and you don't feel it doing it. It is probably the best feature on this bike electronically, bar none. It's a game changer, and I'm surprised somebody else didn't think of it before Harley-Davidson, but I'm glad they did. This is gonna make this bike more accessible to more riders just because of that one feature. It's gonna take away that intrepidation and that fear of having a bike that is too tall and you can't touch the ground when you stop, to being completely comfortable and worry-free. Reach of the bars, it's a nice, easy reach. It's not too far. The stock height is very comfortable. It's low, it's even with the body, very comfortable position. But when you stand up with the stock risers, you are canted forward quite a bit. I chose to run the optional tall risers, which raised them up almost 2 inches. And for that, it was much better for standing up and doing off-road work. You had a more neutral riding position. You could get over the front easier. The only adjustment that is a little bit difficult and fiddly is the windshield. The windshield moves through 1.8 inches of travel. It's got 4 positions, but the mechanism to move it up and down is a bit fiddly. And actually my unit after the off-road day was clogged with dirt and I couldn't adjust it anymore. So on the ride back, I had to have the shield down in low position, which wasn't really an issue. I didn't get any buffeting at the low position, but you get a lot more wind noise through a helmet with a beak or a visor. And I would have preferred to move it up to the top position, which throws the air right over my head and it's super comfortable. There's no quick shifter, which for a big modern adventure touring bike with a decent amount of power that revs very quickly, quick shifter would have been nice. Another miss is in the cruise control system. Overall, cruise control works well, but it doesn't have forward-facing radar. And 2 of the models that it's going up against now have forward-facing radar that have adaptive cruise control. And in this segment, that may matter to some people. So if you're looking for, automatic cruise control, this bike doesn't have it. Overall, it handles great on the street, it handles great on the dirt. The engine is spectacular. The adaptive ride height is a game changer for shorter riders. And overall, they really pulled it off. I can honestly say this thing is an option, it's a competitor, and it's definitely worth taking a look at. So that's it for this review of the 2021 Harley-Davidson Pan America Special. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends, and I know there's gonna be a ton of comments on this video, so put them down below. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can, and talk to you later.